What's up, everyone? My name is Chris George. Welcome to Room and Board, to another episode of Crowdfunding Countdown, where we take a look at every single campaign finishing up this week. Board game campaigns, that is. And that's it for the preamble. Let's get right into the games. Because, let's face it, you've all heard the preamble before, and if you haven't, well, that kind of seems like a you problem, doesn't it? So go watch another one, come back here, and here we go. And first up, we have a game called MonsDRAWsity, or really a standalone expansion to the game called MonsDRAWsity Unusual Suspects. But this one is endorsed by Shut Up and Sit Down. So obviously, because of their name recognition, it's definitely the better one. Because the first one only had zany monsters, and this one has even zanier monsters. Whoa! On a scale from 1 to zany, this one's gonna be zany. But that aside, this is one that I hadn't heard of before, and it actually looks pretty fun. If your favorite part of Telestrations is the drawing bit, definitely check this one out. The premise is there's a monster looker, and a bunch of monster drawers. Those are absolutely the technical terms. And the monster looker will look at the monster for 20 seconds, and then describe to the monster drawers, who have a certain amount of time to draw the monsters. Whoever gets the closest to the actual picture gets a point, and really whoever has the most fun wins. As a lot of these party games, the score doesn't matter. I mean, to me, 20 seconds seems like an incredibly long amount of time to look at this monster and be able to describe it to everybody, but I guess the goal is for people to get kind of close. Or maybe not, because in this version they've actually introduced a stack of cards created by Shut Up and Sit Down that, to make it harder, make you do wild and zany things, like only get to look at the card from across the room, or stuff like that. Keep spinning it as you're describing it. It might sound like I'm being sarcastic because I keep saying wild and zany things, but I actually think this looks, fairly interesting. The art's pretty fun. I think the concept works. I like that they've taken, I think, over 35 artists who have contributed art to this game, which I think is pretty cool. It is absolutely not the definitive monster cute creatures games. That is still We Whimsical Creatures, which if you haven't heard about it, look it up. I talked about it in a previous one. It's so funny to me. But hey, you could use the monsters from this one to play We Whimsical Creatures, and you'd probably have a bunch of fun as well. As far as monster games go, that's the top tier. But for 29 bucks, you could do a lot worse for 29 bucks, as I'm sure we'll see on this list. So if you're interested in that, you have until tomorrow, Tuesday at 11:06 a.m. The only thing you're really getting that's different between this and the retail version are a few extra promo monsters. I think they're at 15 right now, so get them while they're monstery. I don't know. We're moving on. Now, if there's one game that I can get behind just based on name alone, that would be our next one, AngerSmash. And I know quite a few people personally who would fit very well into this universe, especially because there's a card that's called the 10-minute tantrum, or as we refer to it in the biz, the 10-minute tanty. You know who you are. Otherwise, it is, and we haven't had it in a while, but it's back, baby! A funny Kickstarter card game! You'd think I'd be anger smashing the camera right now, since another funny Kickstarter card game has entered into our midst, but it's been so long that it almost feels like an old friend come back to say hello. Welcome back. I take it back. I don't want any more of them. I don't want this to ignite a new trend. But it's pretty simple. You're dealt a hand of cards, and you want to get a set of 4 anger cards and a set of 4 zen cards, because the only way to truly unleash your anger is to do it in a very calm, precise, zen, deadly way. And so you're going to collect these sets while playing cards to disrupt your opponents and playing cards to steal your opponent's other cards. You know how these things go. Anyway, it's 21 bucks Canadian for this 118 card game. It's not on the higher side, it's not on the lower side, it's kind of in the middle for these sorts of games. I'd like it cheaper, but I've also seen a very similar type of game more expensive, so I'm quite tired today and I can't think of any more jokes, so we're moving on. But hey, it's got a card with a butt on it, so enjoy that partial nudity. Try explaining that to your girlfriend when she walks in on you late at night, just staring at it, perplexed, trying to understand the rules. You will see what a true AngerSmash really is. Side note, if anybody has an extra computer That would be helpful for me. Anyway, if you're interested in that, that is Wednesday at 8 a.m. Now, next up we have Float from the Deep, which is a survival game for 2 to 5 players. You've been thrown off a bigger boat into these various lifeboats, you and your team, and you only have 7 days to make it to that mysterious island shrouded in fog in the distance. Why 7 days? You're probably either running out of food or that's when the island teleports, like that of the castaways of Oceanic Flight 815. 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. Now, most games would take place on the mysterious island surrounded by mysterious fog, but not this one. This one takes place in the ocean, and you have to deal with all the dangers that come with floating in a giant ocean, presumably without a paddle. That's why it's taking you so long to get to the island, where all these giant monsters and sea creatures want to get themselves a little snack, while also having all the other boats wanting you to sink and die and drown as well, because, well, humans are the worst, and that's thematically all we need to for that to make sense. Anyway, it's fairly simple. You just have to survive. I mean, you've been doing it all these long years. What's 7 more days? And you're gonna draw the cards from a common deck on your turn, hoping to get the ones that let you live. Each day is broken into 3 phases, morning, afternoon, and night. You get a chance to draw more cards, play more cards, recruit people onto your crew, throw them off your boat, and have them be eaten by sharks, which raises the danger level. And at the end of the day, whoever has the highest danger level has to fight off the fearsome sea creature that wants you in its teeth. Stuff like the very scary shark, or Mother Cordelia, the mermaid, who, I mean, you may want to up the danger level so she pays attention to you, because she has awoken things in me that I didn't know were possible for anybody not possessing gray hair or the name of Maggie. Anyway, it's $39 US, or you can spend an extra $15 to get 6 teeny tiny little miniature shark fins and whatever, so don't do that. I mean, it seems really light, and even though the theme is fun, and Cordelia has been calling to me over and over and over with her siren song, it doesn't seem like anything that I'm particularly interested in, especially because shipping to Canada is more expensive than the game itself. On the higher end, it's $40. But if you are interested, that is Wednesday at 8:54 a.m. as your deadline. Moving right along, we have HoneyBuzz Fall Flavours, which is an expansion to HoneyBuzz, which I've heard good things about. I think the gameplay looks fairly sweet, just like honey.
Don't call me honey, honey.
I mean, that's fair. But this is not a standalone expansion, which means they should be offering a chance to get the base game with it, right? So you can just pay one shipping price and get it all at once and finally find some happiness in your miserable existences. But there's no pledge other than the outrageous $179 double deluxe edition, which gets you both. And I don't think this light beeple placement, which is great, tile laying game is necessarily worth spending over $200 on. I mean, who knows? Maybe it is. I haven't played it. But if you haven't played it either, chances are you don't need to spend that much right out of the gate. Now, the base game is fairly simple. You're going to place your little bee meeples, your beeples, on the board and collect tiles, honeycomb tiles, which you'll then add to your personal beehive and try to create shapes. And when you create specific shapes, then you can have nectar blooming in the middle of them, but also only specific types of nectar, which you have to navigate your other little beeple on this other section of the board to get the best nectar before your opponents do. Also, when you're getting tiles, the first person to go in a specific tile spot has to pay 1 beeple, and then the next person has to pay 2 beeples. So I like that in worker placement games. I like that it's always best to be there first. How has this segment already not been filled with bee puns? Jerry Seinfeld will be so upset with me. I'll never be cast in Bee Movie 7. I'll be back. This time it's Bee... So no. Hey, don't blame them. There were 6 other movies filled with great puns. That's just the one that I thought I could get into. Anyway, if you own the base game, you probably already have a sense of if you want to add these additional modules to change up the experience, if you feel like that will deepen and enrich it. And it adds 5 different modules. So if you are looking for that extra variability, then this might be... I'm so sorry. Might be the ticket for you. I mean, one of the modules, which is of particular interest to me, I should have said B, I shouldn't have, keep going, is the Harvest Festival module, where you get to play as mobster bees, or I can only assume by the description, because you can let your bees retire to the Harvest Festival. But before they do, they can either give a toast and get you points or do one last job. That wasn't even a voice. Are you disrespecting my family? It's clearly a mobster movie. They're gonna retire? No. They're getting whacked. You know they are. They're getting whacked quicker than Pablo whacks wise guys. It's clearly a mobster movie. Anyway, it's $29 for the expansion, $50 for the main version on their website, but probably cheaper at your friendly local game store. Who knows? Check it out before you have to order it twice and pay for shipping twice, which doesn't sound great to me. But we might finally get an answer to the age-old question, do you think bees drink their own honey? I'm sure they've tasted it. And if you're interested in that one, that is Wednesday at 9 p.m. Now, next up, we have Imaginhero, whose tagline is Pokemon for positive mental health, where players will equip their own Imaginhero powers to battle against echoes who have overwhelmed their friends. Players use empathy points to diminish the echo's grasp and free their victims. But it's also a competitive game, so only the best person who frees their friends the best is actually the winner. And everyone else just descends into despair, I can only imagine. I mean, other than that spin on it, this is a pretty positive message that I can get behind. Especially since we've hit daylight savings hours and the sun never rises anymore. Which I'm sure has had a not so great effect on a lot of people's mental health. Can this card game save you? It says it can. But really, I think this would be neat for kids. It's a really basic game. You get Delta Hero, another hero is turned up of who you have to save, and then an echo is turned up of what has a grasp over that other person. And so you basically use your special power, which just gives you a bump on a dice roll, really. And then you roll your dice against the other person's dice roll, and you try to take down the echo, and who's ever saved the most people after 2 rounds wins. It's really basic, but what I do love about this design is them emphasizing that any of the heroes who get turned up could be the one needing to be saved. So you could have a hero in one game who saves the world, and then they could actually be the person that you need to save in the next game. And I think that sort of messaging is really sweet and really necessary, and emphasizing to kids that sometimes you will be down and sometimes you can be the shoulder for people to lean on. And you know what? The softy in me can get behind that sort of message, that we all stumble, we all fall, but we can all pick each other up. But in a competitive way, because it's still a competitive game. You all fight your own echoes. It really should be cooperative, probably, but hey, what do I know? Anyway, that's why I'm mentioning it. I'm clearly not interested in a conventional sense. I've learned all the empathy I ever need to learn. No more empathy for me. But it's also cool, it's manufactured in the US, and they have a lot of great environmental initiatives. The ink is made partially out of vegetable oil, which is kind of neat as well, which I hadn't heard about before. So if you have a classroom, maybe it's something to consider. And if so, that's Thursday at 2:59 a.m., aka Wednesday night. Now next up we have a play-at-home puzzle game, Trouble in Folklore Falls. So you're looking at this as sort of a one-shot model. It's going to be 3 episodes total. There's going to be an overarching story, but you can choose just to get 1 episode or the full package. It's $38 for 1 episode. It's $122 for the whole season. So not a discount. It's actually more for the whole season, which I didn't realize until right now, which almost eliminates my interest in this altogether. Why is it more? But that aside, it's basically the Telltale series, The Wolf Among Us, where you'll work with the big bad wolf to solve a bunch of crimes that's happening in this sort of fairy tale town. However, I do have to say that their video gets me pretty interested, that you might be able to call people and listen to their messages and interrogate them, or log into different things and have physical components that you need to rearrange and solve. I'm definitely intrigued. I definitely like the sort of escape room genre. I mean, I guess this is also a good time to say that a while ago, I wrote an online escape room adventure with my neighbor. He designed all the puzzles, I pretty much wrote all the story and the narrative. And I've been told by people that that is also enjoyable. So if you are a fan of these sort of one-shot escape room things, we have designs for a full season eventually at some point when I get any spare time to write more and he gets any spare time to design more puzzles. So if you're interested, check it out. That's at webscapade.com. He has it up there for $25. I'll try to get a code or something to discount it if you're interested in getting a couple people together and trying it out. But I have to reach out to him because I'm just the writer and he's done all the legwork in terms of setting it up and website costs, etc. Anyway, I think it's pretty good. It reminds me a bit of this, to be honest, which is why I am bringing it up now. And it has raised $37,000, and this is the 4th one of these that the Detective Society has put out. So I'm assuming their track record is pretty good and they are having repeat customers. That gives me a little bit of faith that this will be an enjoyable experience. I mean, it's probably a little too rich for my blood, but again, my blood is made out of coupons and pennies, so God, it is a really unenjoyable experience to walk around being me, with my insides all wet and jangly. Doctors do not know how I am alive, but what I do know is that it is this Thursday at 9 a.m. if you're interested. Now, next up, we have something that is not a board game, but is certainly board game adjudicator, board game basement, Quabity Assurance. I'm circling it. But I think it looks pretty neat, and that's Minipedia, which is a series of volumes of books about learning how to paint. And sure, you could just look up various online videos for free, but this promises to go through all the techniques, whether you are a beginner or you are Mona Lisa. It was a self-portrait. I don't know if you knew that. She did it herself. In the mirror, too, backwards. Very impressive. But for someone who is horrible at painting, this idea intrigues me. It's very hard to start painting. I mean, for me, it is a product of laziness and knowing that in my bones, I am a talentless hack. But to have something that promises to teach you in a step-by-step way with over 2,000 illustrations, well, that's a dream that I am close to buying into, even though I know I'm not going to actually buy it whatsoever. But if you are interested, that's why I figured I'd mention it. The whole compendium is 8 volumes at $102, which is very expensive, but you can just get one, which is probably what I would be interested in doing. You can pick whichever volume seems interesting to your tastes and talents and skill levels, and that's around $14 Canadian. So not bad for like a nice little booklet magazine. Might be a nice little gift to get yourself for Christmas, which, of course, being Kickstarter, won't arrive before Christmas. But if you are interested, that is Thursday at 12 p.m. But speaking of arriving for Christmas, and I'm not sure when this next campaign finishes, but I figured I'd include it now because they say they're going to get you your copies before Christmas, and considering it's November 22nd, it might finish up this week. It is launching today at 10 a.m. on GameFound, so go click the follow button right now and it'll give you $5 off if you are thinking about getting it, and that is Twisted Fables. And Twisted Fables was on Kickstarter a while ago, but this is basically a campaign to sell their overstock, really. They have a bunch of copies in warehouses and they're saying, yep, buy them right now and we'll get them to you before Christmas. And you're basically purchasing their deluxe pledge from the Kickstarter with their miniatures, so obviously the one that people want. And it's $69 or $64 if you manage to click follow before the campaign went live. And honestly, I don't remember why I passed on this one. I was really close. I was really contemplating this one. If you haven't heard of it, it's basically a 2-player side-scroller Mortal Kombat Street Fighter battler, but in deck building, attack each other card game, where all the characters are heroines from different fables, like Snow White. You've got Mulan in there. You've got the Little Mermaid, whole bunch of them. You've got other women who have not been co-opted by Disney, like Match Girl, who I can only presume just wants to watch the world burn. It looks really, really neat. And the fact that it does exist made me drop my pledge of Knockdown that Awakened Realms Light had put out, which is a similar take on the genre, because I thought that this one looked so much more interesting. I think this one has a nice depth to it. I've heard that the characters feel different. So far, what I've heard from people receiving the game, they seem to be happy about it. I think for me, I really wanted the miniatures and I couldn't really justify them because it didn't really make sense. And so I didn't opt for it. The shipping was probably a bit too much. This is what I'm definitely thinking about checking out, though, now that it is in a warehouse in the US. Might be easier to get to me. They have some warehouses in the EU as well. But this is a better deal than the Kickstarter. Their deluxe version on Kickstarter was $75, and if you get that $5 off, it's $64 here. Now, you don't get some stuff. I think there was a playmat that you got in Kickstarter that you don't get here. So that's what really makes the difference. But for me, everything that I would have wanted, because it's all the gameplay stuff, is in this deluxe pledge. So if you've got some extra cash and you do want a little treat for yourself before Christmas, check this one out. It looks good. I don't think I'll end up pulling the trigger on it just because of the price point. You know, I'm poor and cheap and whatever. But I really do think it does look good. So check this one out. I feel like the copies might go quickly. Maybe that's just because I think it looks good and nobody else will. So it'll be there. It's finishing up sometime, probably finishing up when all the copies run out, realistically. But you'll probably have to get your order in at a certain time so that it does arrive before Christmas. Now, next up we have Clash of Decks Season 2. And this is a fun one. Their first campaign, Clash of Decks Season 1, they did this thing where they said, you know what, we're giving everybody this little deck of cards for free. All you have to do is pay the $2 shipping and we'll ship it to you. So they put it in a bunch of envelopes and sent it out to a bunch of people, and I thought, oh, a free game? Of course I will buy this sight unseen without even caring what it is. It's $2, kind of cool. And so what happens, the starter deck, this is the starter deck, it has 32 cards in it. You'll draft 8 cards at the beginning. Everybody's going to have a hand of 8 cards, and then everyone's also going to have this sort of bastion and fort. And the goal of the game is to kill your other opponent's bastion and fort before they kill yours. It has essentially 16 hit points, and how you track it is you keep it in your hand of cards, and every time it takes damage, you move it a little bit further along the way until it gets to the end. Then you flip it over and you do it again. When it gets to the end, finally, you lose and the other person wins. You're going to do that by, you're going to play these monsters. They all have kind of different abilities on them. It's a quick, light, fun game that honestly I hadn't yet played before this video, but they have it on Board Game Arena. So I jumped on there and I played a quick game and I learned how to play through doing that quick game. And, you know, it's fun. I think the drafting element to it is neat. And then you're basically just slamming your monsters against the other monsters and strategically doing that. But as you play the game more, I think you'll know what cards the other person has played, so you can try to have the perfect counters for them. It seems pretty neat. And you know what? For a free game, sure, I'm into it. So this one, unfortunately, is not free. You have to pay $10 for one of the 6 standalone expansions, or you can pay $34 for all 6 standalone expansions and a starter deck and a special champion card that you can design yourself. You pick their strength, their armor, whatever, and you can put whoever you want on the card. Your mom, yourself, or Maggie. You could put Maggie in the game. Oh, you could put Maggie in the game. I mean,
or it could be me. Why do you never talk about me, wise guy?
Well, honestly, I'm a little afraid of you, Pablo. But yes, you could put Pablo in another card game. I will say that I am excited to try out Chili Mafia coming up soon because your friends may have sent me a copy because they like Pablo on this channel so much. Yeah, that's what I've been saying. He might soon have a family reunion.
Family reunion? Well, don't you tell me Dale the Donut's gonna be here.
I would assume not, because that's not a chili. It's probably just chilies.
Yeah, I guess I better go leave this segment and go get ready, I guess.
I mean, I don't know how to end it either. Anyway, Clash of Decks. It's a quick, light game. If you're interested, that's Thursday at 4 p.m. Having this starter deck, I don't really think I need even one expansion, to be honest. But go play a game on BGG, see if you like it. I like this as a concept. I like it as a project. I like their basically marketing technique of sending out the game for free to so many people and then hoping down the line that they would buy more expansions. I think that's awesome. I think it's really cool. So it's something that I want to support, but I know I probably don't need to. I don't need the extra abilities and powers, you know? I can just play it on BGG, Board Game Arena. Now, next up, just quickly to mention, because, well, I thought it was kind of cool, there's something coming out called FLGS, the documentary. And it says it's about the creation of the world's largest game store, which I think is a stretch. I don't think the world's largest game store is in Calgary, Alberta, but hey, I'm willing to be proven wrong, and I guess I'll have to watch the documentary to find out. They also have the full interview of an interview that they did with the D&D guy there, who talks about what games provide to a community, which was kind of interesting to listen to. I listened to the whole thing, so check out that Kickstarter and listen to that interview, and you can pay $3 if you want early access to the documentary, or you just want to support a documentary being made about the board gaming hobby, which I'm into. And also, who's this cute little eye guy that they're using in their pictures? I know it's something D&D related. I'm assuming it's not a Demogorgon. I mean, I've played Mouse Guard and Dungeon World and Monster Hearts, but no real classic D&D, so let me know what this cute little guy's called and how I should be terribly afraid of him. And if you're interested in supporting the documentary, that's Saturday at 11:41 a.m. Now, next up we have Snake the board game. And this is the most self-explanatory game that I have ever encountered. Have you played Snake on your phone? The little worm-eating stuff? Do you want to play it against others incredibly slowly? Well, check out Snake the board game then. Actually, I think if you are a fan of like Quarto or Quarador or any of the other Quidden series like that, I think you might be interested in this game. I personally don't like those games, so I don't think I'll be interested in this one. And also, I really don't know if this one will be interesting or not. It could be horrible. It could be way too slow. Or it could be tactical brilliance. But considering it's $38 and then an additional $25 to ship it to Canada, I think I'll stick with just downloading it and playing it on my phone the way God intended it to be when he made the Garden of Eden. Eat all those little apples, snakes. In the deluxe version, they have little apples. You don't need it. Anyway, if you're interested, that's at 5:59 p.m. Sunday. And our last one this week is a tabletop RPG based on the Nelly Furtado song, Be Like a Crow. Okay, fine. I know nothing about it. You know I don't tend to cover tabletop RPGs, but this has raised $50,000 and will exist, and you get to be like a crow in different time periods. I don't know. I don't know how interesting this will be. Being a crow and rolling to see if you can grab somebody's sausage roll or something. Crows are absolutely terrifying. They are so smart. They chased me for my sausage roll, and yes, I succumbed. Usually I don't negotiate with terrorists, but in this case, I absolutely did, and I ran away and threw them all of my sausage rolls because they were very bold and scary. Anyway, that's all I'll say about that one. Our actual last board game this week is Hanamakoji Geisha's Road. And this is one that I'm sure a few people are excited about because I've heard personally really good things about the original Hanamakoji. It's rated on 214 on Board Game Geek right now, and it's specifically a tense, fun little two-player game. But this one is the sequel. So who cares about the garbage original? Because if there's one thing that I've learned, the sequel is always better. Let's try that. The sequel is always better. The sequel is always better? There we go. The sequel is always better. And this one looks pretty fun. It reminds me a little bit of Lost Cities, except in this one, only one player can score points for a particular color. So there's going to be 5 colors of geishas, and you are a patron to all of them, naturally. And you're going to help them along their path to become top entertainers. And yes, entertainers. They're not prostitutes. That is a myth. They are no more prostitutes than me or Deuce Bigelow, who... Oh no. She said she just wanted companionship. Oh, I've got a dinner party to cancel. But yeah, if you back a geisha the most, by basically having the highest value of cards in their color at the end of a round, you get the points associated with them. And if a geisha lands exactly on her starting spot once, she gets a certain amount of lanterns or points. And then if she gets there twice, well, then she owns the tea shop because she's big time Hollywood now. Big time geisha wood. No, we'll stick with Hollywood. And you can get even more points. So it's about managing which geishas you want to support, which geishas you think are going to become top entertainers, and which geishas are going to let themselves down and their families. So you're only going to play 4 actions on your round. You can choose the order, but the actions stay the same, and they all involve some sort of manner of playing a card or offering cards to your opponents, and then they get to choose cards and you get to play the remainder, which is what they refer to as their I cut, you choose, which is heavily implemented in both this and base Hanamakoji. So this one's $22 US, which feels pretty good as a price point, or it's $19 US if you want to get the original, or if you want both, well, you knock off $2 discount and you can get them both for $39 US. And also another draw is it plays exactly in 25 minutes. Not 30, that would be too long. This is a 25-minute game, as it says on the box. So if you are interested in that, that finishes up next Tuesday at noon o'clock. And that's it. That's all we have for the week. Honestly, some slim pickings this week. As we get into December, this series may end up taking a break because there may not be enough interesting things to cover, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So every week I do a pick for me and a pick for you. The pick for me is something that I am the most interested in, and then the pick for you is something that I think will have the most general appeal. And I think it's pretty obvious which ones are going to be the picks this week, although there could be some contenders with good old Clash of Decks, but they didn't make it there. Spoiler alert. The pick for me is going to be Twisted Fables. I really was interested in this game, and I will be looking into it a bit more. I think it's going to be a bit out of my price point, which is too bad, but it looks like something that would be fun. I think I did end up passing on it because it is a 2-player head-to-head. That's the best way it's going to be experienced, and I don't know how often I get those sort of 2-player head-to-heads to the table. Generally, I'll try to play with 3 or 4 people a lot, so that was one of my reasons for not getting it, but I think the art looks really cool. The concept is really fun with all these fairy tale characters, all these badass women just going at it, just kicking butt and taking names. Yeah, I really do think that mechanically it feels like it could be a good one. So if you are interested, check that one out. That's my official pick for me, is Twisted Fables. And then the pick for you also probably shouldn't come as any surprise. It's nothing. No, just kidding. It's Hanamakoji, Geisha's Road. This is somewhat bolstered by the opinion of the first one, but I didn't really look into the first one. I still don't know how the first one is played. I know how this one is played, and this one seems interesting to me. It seems like there's going to be a lot of interesting choices happening in that 25 minutes, and the $22 feels like a nice price point as well. I think that's going to be a fun one if you like those sort of 2-player games. Because of the price point I'm considering it, I think the shipping will be a little bit too expensive for me, and so I might as well wait till it's in retail locally, because this one will probably go to retail. The other one's pretty popular, so I'm probably not going to opt for it here, but a decent price point, head and shoulders the best on this list. So that's my official pick for you, the Geisha's Road. Otherwise, that's it for the week. Let me know, what are you backing? Is there anything interesting? Is there anything that I missed? I don't think I did. Well, I probably did, let's be real. I always think I don't, but then I do miss a couple. And then some of them might have been a little bit too confusing for me to even bother reading the rules. And if I can't explain the rules to you, I'm not going to mention it to you, because why take a gamble on something that's just like, hey, we've got a bunch of rules that don't make any sense, so give us some money. Nobody's got time for that. But tell me, what are you backing? What are you excited about? As always, I love hearing from you. And until next time, once again, my name's Chris George, and I don't have a catchphrase, but I do have some merch. I mean, I just made this for fun. If you do want one, as is with everything in the Room and Board merch store that's always in the description, I don't really make anything off of it. I have the prices low because I like you all, and I think it's cool if you want to rep the channel. It's already pretty expensive to get these shirts. They are nice quality though. I only have the premium shirts as an option because I hate the feel of the other ones, and I like the feel of these, which encourages me to wear them more. Anyway, I know a few of you were asking me to make these shirts, so I did. If you want one, go to the Room Board thing. But do it just for you. Again, it's not like you're supporting me. It's just if you think that would be fun. There we go. Anyway, that's it. Hope you have a wonderful day. And it seems official that I don't have a catchphrase. So get a room and a board. That's a pretty good one too.